explosive new revelations in the Mueller probe as it pertains to the supposed Trump Russian collusion story. A whole bunch more revelations tied to the Obama administration, the Hillary Clinton's campaign, and a bunch more. All of that and much more today on the Truth Hour. I don't hear nothing.
Something really wrong is going on. What kind of a show are you guys putting on here today? I want the truth.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Truth Hour. Another jam-packed session of the Truth Hour here on this Friday. We're coming to you a day late. I'm coming to you a day late here. We had some big news yesterday. My oldest son, Cooper Jameson, officially sworn in to join the Air Force Reserves, and that took place yesterday. So I'm a proud father, and what a true amazing situation to be privileged to attend, to witness that young man step up, to be willing to serve his country, and to follow the lead of countless others. So had to reschedule today's show for today to go ahead and make that, and wouldn't have missed that for the world. So also, we need to go ahead and get some other information out there, and let's get this disclosed as well before we get started this morning. Some sad news here. We have, myself and Dave Deagle have been together on the Truth Hour since the conception of this great show for a number of months here, and it's been a true privilege and honor to sit next to him, to hear his insight, also to have hear his knowledge on Scripture. Also, he's become very knowledgeable in other arenas as well. So he's just a great inspiration to myself and countless others. But due to some scheduling conflicts and some things that we see coming up in the future, after some much talk and deliberation, we have decided to go ahead and that he is going to step aside, and this will be a solo act for myself moving forward. The Truth Hour will be with myself exclusively, occasionally maybe guest speaker or something on, but so Shane Jameson rolling forward, and so I have Dave here, and he's got a couple of words for the audience, and so here you go, Dave.
Can you see me now? Hey, before Shane forgets, because I am the plug guy, and don't forget, every Thursday at 11 o'clock, hear the Truth Hour Radio, and then you can also email Shane at truthourradio@gmail.com, truthourradio@gmail.com, and you can also find us on Facebook too. Facebook.com, Truth Hour Radio. You can just search Truth Hour Radio, and it's the first thing that comes up as a page. But it's been real, and it's been fun. It's not been real fun, no. This last month or so, to do the Truth Hour with Shane and with you guys. But things here at the church are very busy, and so there's a lot of things I need to be tending to, and Shane's got all this under control. He's the man in the know, so he's going to be rolling head forward. But I just thank you guys so much for always supporting the show and always being a part of it, and always chatting in. And it's my prayer that as Shane moves forward, that the show continues to grow, information gets out there, but first and foremost, that everybody who watches the show has a love and relationship with Jesus Christ through faith and obedience to Him. And if you don't, and you need to know more about that, email me, ddeagel, DDEAGEL @gmail.com, and we can talk about your soul, and we can talk about salvation and what the Bible teaches about that, and that would be an honor and a privilege. So I guess in my words, peace out, Cub Scout, and
hey, I love you, brother.
Enjoy it. All right, love you too.
All right, we are back here. Let's get started here. And for a couple of shows, I believe Dave is going to be my key man, my producer of sorts behind the scenes, no less important, every bit of important because I don't have any technical skills. I will have to acquire those skills the next few days or weeks to be self-sufficient here on the Truth Hour. So appreciate Dave's willingness to stay on in that aspect or that capacity. So without further ado, guys, welcome everybody that is here. I do see my daughter Cheyenne is in attendance. Welcome, Cheyenne. And I used to do this all the time with Dave, but now this will be my thing. She's all the way out in El Paso, Texas. Exactly. That's way out there. So, way out in far west Texas. I actually grew up not too far from there, in Howard County, which is Big Spring, Texas, and have family there to this day. So, a lot of family all over Texas. Love the state of Texas. So, anyways, with that being said, let's dive into this week's topics. A whole lot more of the same, guys, except for some more revelations into the corrupt Clinton probe as far as it pertains to Special Counsel Mueller and his team. There's been some amazing revelations. It's almost like a cascade or an avalanche, and I've been saying this for weeks, guys. An avalanche of truth has been coming down the train tracks, and it's kind of like the faster it gets, the faster it gets. The faster the ice melts around this, the faster it continues to melt. It just keeps feeding itself. There is new revelations every day about what appears to be clear bias in the FBI, and now there's been a huge release of a cache of text messages between Peter Strzok and I believe another agent, Lisa Page. And I'm not certain if that was his mistress at the time or whatever the case may be, but I believe they did have some sort of a relationship outside of work that was of a personal nature. There's been about 300 out of an approximate 10,000 text messages that have been sent. And the thing is guys, let's lay this out. Huge conflict of interest here. There are rules and ethics and protocols in place for FBI agents, especially those that are actually assigned to prosecute or investigate certain situations. So, being that they're supposed to set aside and have basically, not to strip them of their political views, but those political views should not circumvent or trump, pardon the pun, their due diligence and their duties to fulfill their office. And in this case, Peter Strzok, we mentioned him last week, he's at the center of everything. He was at the center of interviewing what is considered to be a joke of an investigation that never really was, and Comey actually changed that to a matter. He was at the center of that. He was at the center of investigating Uma Abedin and countless other witnesses to the underneath and with Hillary there that were actually eventually given immunity. So Strokes, he's a part of that. He's also a part of interviewing Michael Flynn that has since pled guilty to giving misleading and false statements to the FBI. Code word for lying. He was found guilty or pled guilty to lying. He's pleading with them. He's plea bargaining out. He's going to turn some kind of evidence supposedly, but there's really not any, because in a year plus of an investigation, there really hasn't been anything that's happened as far as that goes, because there's no evidence. There's no evidence of any collusion with the Trump campaign or Russia. And what's become apparent is that day by day, week by week, as this rotten onion is peeled back, the true and real story and the real collusion is the collusion between the various Obama administration departments, including the DOJ, the FBI, to undermine, undercut, and strangle the then incoming administration, Trump's administration, and then also basically put cement boots on him up until this day. And that's basically what's happened. It amazes me that just how strong Trump is, and he doesn't even care. he doesn't acknowledge that that's all happening as far as, being slowed down. He just pushes forward. He's a man on a mission, and he's trying to get tax reform done. He's trying to get all these other deregulations done. He's trying to push and get beneficial legislation put into this, for this great country, to move this great country forward. It's just amazing. So anyways, there has been an amazing amount of uncovering that's happened. It's like the Democrats come out and they basically tried to, to ham-hock him from the start. And what's funny is it's actually backfired. And and what the Dems like to say is that, well, the more we're at the tip of the iceberg, right? Well, I find that absolutely ridiculous. I wrote some stuff down here, and I'm trying to find what it was. Yeah, the tip of the iceberg theory is what the Dems always use, right? Because they always want to say there's more. I think we're at the tip of the iceberg because you got Michael Flynn that pled guilty to lying. They've got Papadopoulos. They've got Manafort. And by the way, none of those indictments had anything to do with Russian/Trump collusion, which is what the scope of the investigation was given to begin with. So everything that Mueller's done to date falls well outside those parameters, which shows, in my opinion, the clear weakness of what he has or doesn't have. But the Dems always have championed that, right? So, every time you push them on facts, well, here's what they say back to that. We're only at the tip of the iceberg. Mueller hasn't even got there yet, right? Well, here's something to think about. So the tip of what iceberg? This is absolutely a disgusting situation. You have basically what's been, a special counsel that's been appointed to it's an investigation in search of a crime, right? Isn't it supposed to work the other way around? The last time I checked, special counsels in prosecutions actually took place after the acknowledgement of a crime had taken place. It's never taken place beforehand. So why do we have a special counsel? Why do we have an unlimited budget? Why do we have an FBI counsel with countless prosecutors on it looking for something that doesn't exist? In fact, to me, innocent before proven guilty, I think they're trying to basically state that you're guilty until you're proven guilty. You're guilty until you're proven guilty. I mean, there's the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg thing. If you flop that on its head, the Dems say, well, we're only the tip of the iceberg, suggesting that there's some kind of a massive undertone of corruption and legal situations that's yet to be uncovered without a shred of evidence to suggest such. But if you look at now take that same iceberg scenario in that calculation and flop it, there is an iceberg of evidence that suggests that there was collusion, ongoing collusion between the DOJ of the Obama administration, current administration now, because there were holdovers. You have an iceberg size amount of evidence that keeps coming out on a daily and weekly basis. And there is tons of proof of that, but very little being done about it. It is the weirdest thing I have ever seen. And I'm going to have to get used not to pivoting to Dave, because usually I look over at him at this time and be like, what do you think? So anyways, this is just an ongoing situation, guys, where I just think the truth is coming out over time. I believe we just got to keep praying and and asking God to be at the center of this and try to uncover a lot of this. I think it's for the country's betterment. But I'm going to go down some of the list here. So in these text messages that was released, there was a clear bias between Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, and this is back in the time, right about the time that the Hillary Clinton email scandal was being put to bed, because, once again, Comey was writing the exoneration letter before he even interviewed the people involved. Peter Strzok is at the center of that. He's officially been credited with taking, in the official report, he is officially credited with, changing the verbiage in that report from grossly, let me see where I got that written down. Yeah, he changed the way that was worded from extremely careless, grossly negligent, which does carry a crime, which is a criminal act underneath the various codes and explanations of what is criminal, to grossly or extremely careless. So from grossly negligent to extremely careless. That's on. That's on.
Choose your health care as if your life depended on it.
Make sure
It's on.
your health and
Oh, okay. Well, it's in my ear. Anyway, sorry about that. Had a little glitch there on the side. So we have this ongoing situation that's been unraveling that clearly shows that the fix was in from day one. You have Peter Strzok at the center of exonerating and basically clearing Hillary Clinton, giving immunity to countless witnesses that were tied to her. At the same time, Mueller appoints him into this investigation into supposed Russian and Trump collusion. He interviews Flynn. Flynn's under oath. Flynn ends up perjuring himself. He ends up lying about it. It ends up being used against him. He pleads to that. Funny then when him and a number of other agents are supposedly interviewing Hillary Clinton, she's not put under oath. It's not videoed. There's no transcript. Anybody see a problem with that? I mean, is that just me? Huge, huge problem, guys. So you have this. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of this. So they've got this string of texts that have been disclosed. There's one in particular, and I don't have a screenshot of it, and I should have got this, guys. It's on me for not doing that. But there's one that's a clear and present danger that's got everybody on both sides of the aisle kind of raising an eyebrow at this. There is a communication text between Peter Strzok and Lisa Page at one point, and Peter Strzok, and I'm going to paraphrase here because I don't have it in front of me. Peter Strzok goes on to basically state in layman's terms to Lisa Page that he's acknowledging that that apparently whatever they had discussed in Andy's office, and I'll get into that in a minute, Andy's office would be feasible, but basically they can't take a chance. This is Strzok talking that they can't take a chance, and then goes on to talk about there's no way that they thought that maybe if Trump would get elected. Okay, so it's been disclosed, and it's probably going to come out officially that Andy's office is none other than Andrew McCabe. Okay, Andrew McCabe, one of the higher ups, of the FBI. So that would lead one to believe that Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, were inside Andrew McCabe's office and had discussed this very situation on basically undermining a then incoming administration, the Trump administration, and also shows intent to the fact that they looked forward to trying to undermine him as he took office moving forward. So you have this individual that's at the heart and center of the current ongoing Mueller investigation. Okay, well, you would think, well, has he been removed? Yes. So Mueller actually removes him. Here's the bad part about it. He's been removed almost 6 months ago. Now, Congress has sought documentation and insight into this and have been stonewalled from Mueller and the FBI as to why he was, why was he let go? Well, we've only recently found that out in the last week to 10 days. He was let go because of, ding, 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 a conflict of interest here. The conflict was clearly shown in the bias between him and Lisa Page. And the fact that it appears they were meeting and discussing ways to undermine this administration in none other than Andrew McCabe's office, which is an extremely higher-up official in the FBI. So this just stinks to high heaven. It just absolutely stinks to high heaven. So Rosenstein was actually grilled on Capitol Hill here it might have been yesterday, day before. And I got some highlights on that. We've got a couple of I'm going to give you some absolute champions in this that are pushing for the right questions, saying the right things. Jim Jordan, Trey Gowdy, and then DeSantis are all three that I watched that whole hearing, and I'm going to tell you what, they went after him. They asked him the right questions. He tried to dodge and deflect, and they put him on point. So the first one we got up here is Jim Jordan. Listen to this exchange.
Thanks for staying up late with us. Good to be with me. Okay, so do you think you will get the answer from the FBI about whether the dirty dossier was used as the means to get a warrant to then track the Trump administration?
I'm convinced it was used. They can prove me wrong. They can present the application. Nothing preventing them from doing so. We're the Judiciary Committee. We have jurisdiction over the Justice Department. Show us what you took, not what the court has, what you took to the court that became the basis for securing warrants to spy on Americans associated with the Trump campaign. So show us the document, show us the application.
I know that you've had numerous requests. The committee has in for all kinds of answers and documents. Where are they? Are you getting those?
Some, and thank goodness that the Speaker and Devin Nunes and the Intel Committee and Chairman Goodlatte were all pushing. But we need that information because each day, we just heard about Mr. Orr. We know about Peter Strzok, who we talked about in committee today. Each and every day, something new comes out which reinforces this belief that you had the FBI working with the Clinton campaign to go after the other party's nominee. That is not supposed to happen in this great country. It is not supposed to work that way. You had this dossier, which was, Clinton campaign paying Fusion GPS, paying Christopher Steele, paying Russians for a bunch of baloney that they turned into an intelligence document, take it to the court to get a warrant to spy on Americans? Really? And potentially Christopher Steele was also, it's been reported, paid by the FBI, the MI6 agent who collected the information. So all this goes on, and Peter Strzok gets dismissed from the Mueller team, the guy who ran the Clinton investigation, ran the Russian investigation. It all starts to just point to this idea that the government was working with one major political party to go after the other party's nominee, and that is not fair to Mr. Trump. President Trump, that's not fair to, it's just not how it's supposed to work.
Do you think that you will get an opportunity to question Mr. Strzok? And if so, what's your first question?
I hope so. I hope so. Did you do it? My guess is his fingerprints are all over this application. He was the deputy head of counterintelligence at the FBI. I mean, he's probably one of the key guys involved in all the FISA applications that go to the FISA court. So I want to question him. We got Mr. Rosenstein coming next week. I think that's important. So there are lots of questions, but give us the documents. Prove us wrong. I don't think we're wrong.
One of your colleagues across the aisle today says these attacks and these accusations about the FBI are politically motivated. This is Congressman Jerry Nadler.
I predict that these attacks on the FBI will grow louder and more brazen as the special counsel does his work and the walls close in around the president and evidence of his obstruction and other misdeeds.
Guys, we're going to go ahead and pull off that video. It's about 5 minutes in length, and we got the crux of it right there. That was Jim Jordan interviewing on Fox there. And this was actually a day before yesterday, so a little bit out of date as to what I was wanting to show, but it still shows what I wanted to get to. There, and two other individuals that are still being brought up here that I haven't mentioned yet. There's a Bruce Orr, and Nellie Orr is his wife. Now, Bruce Orr was also another FBI official at the center of this. Bruce Orr was apparently meeting with this undercover agent that had to do with collecting this salacious information for the fake Trump dossier, Christopher Steele. Okay, as an FBI agent, he was meeting secretly with Christopher Steele, also the co-founder of Fusion GPS, which is the firm behind composing all of this opposition research, is at the end of the day what it was. So the problem you have here is you got an FBI agent that's meeting secretly with probably going to come out that Steele was also paid by the FBI, and I'll get into that later, for this fake Trump dossier. At the same time that that's going on, his wife, Nellie Orr, guess whose payroll she was on? And also, to come to find out, she's an expert in everything Russian. Okay, that's her forte. So Bruce Orr is meeting secretly with Christopher Steele, the MI6 secret agent that had a lot to do with composing and finding a lot of this proven false information against Trump. He's also meeting with the co-founder of Fusion GPS, while his wife is on Fusion GPS's payroll, and she is an expert in everything Russia. Please tell me that doesn't scream bias. Please tell me that doesn't scream conflict of interest. Please tell me that does not somehow undermine this whole investigation. it's an absolute joke. I mean, it's an absolute joke. I just don't even know where to start with all that. But yeah, hey, welcome everybody on the show there. Lauren, I see you on there. I appreciate you, my friend. Anybody else that's actually watching or listening in, please chat us there so I can acknowledge that you're here. I do appreciate you. Please like and share and follow and subscribe and all those things. I do appreciate it. 2 questions come out of all of this, guys, and I've kind of skipped around. I'm a little bit choppy on this, trying to get into my flow, but only 2 questions. You could think of 1,000, but here's the 2 that matter. Did the FBI pay for the dossier in any form? I.e., did they pay Christopher Steele? If taxpayer money funneled through the FBI, paid for by our government from us, right, went to pay for any form of this dossier, we got a huge problem. Now you might say, why? Here's the problem why. There's 1,000 reasons why, but the main one is this. Because what appears to have happened, and what is still yet to be confirmed, but it's all but been confirmed, and it will be confirmed, I believe, is you have this salacious information found out from Fusion GPS through Christopher Steele with ties to the Russians, and they get all this information. Okay? You have an FBI agent and Bruce Orr and his wife working together in different aspects. Ellie Orr basically, smoothing the pathway, clearing the way for him to have secret meetings with Fusion GPS, of which she's on the payroll. Okay? You then get this fake dossier, all this salacious information, not proven, not vetted. It is opposition research. Okay? How did it go from opposition research, which is very low quality, unvetted, basically hearsay? How did that go from that to what's being called and going to be proven, and it's been proven slowly every day? It's believed that fake dossier was then basically dressed up into an official legal document, an official FBI document. Okay, so imagine this equation. You got this over here, and then it transforms into an FBI legal document. That then, the main question, and a lot of people inside this think that this is going to be determined as to what happened. This fake information dressed up into an official-looking document of vetted nature is then presented to the FISA courts for none other than a warrant to then spy on members of the Trump administration and his family. If that comes out to be true, if that is declared to be true, our country is in a sad state of affairs. The most powerful branch of investigative tool in this country used as a weapon against an incoming and current administration to undermine him, to possibly try to flat out thwart the election, swing it back to Hillary Clinton. And then since that didn't work and he won, that process has continued all but today to basically hamstring him and slow him down. Guys, you read about this stuff in novels, right? I mean, Bourne movies, spy novels, spy movies, third world countries, Russia. You don't think that's happening in real life today. But it is. And it's happening right up under our noses and has been happening for years. It's a very shocking thing, guys, very shocking thing. So I'm going to pivot over here real quick. It's about 11:30. We got another 30 minutes here, and I appreciate everybody in attendance. Thanks so much. Please send us your questions there on Snap. If you have anything, I'm just going to keep rambling here. We got a lot more to go through. So up next here is Trey Gowdy, and this isn't the video I thought it would be. I think it's one that's still going to work. I don't think he's actually grilling Rosenstein like I thought this video was going to be. This was 2 or 3, maybe 4 days prior to that, And this is Christopher Wray, I believe, that he's grilling. Maybe it's the FBI director, it's himself, but this is still good. Trey Gowdy is an amazing attorney, and he can get after him like a pit bull. So take a listen to this, and we'll comment afterwards.
You ask if they can be fair, impartial, free of bias before they sit in judgment of others on a jury. Even in the smallest of courtrooms where there are nothing but empty seats and no television cameras. Somewhere today, those selected to sit in judgment of their fellow citizens will be told that they must wait until the very last witness testifies and the last piece of evidence has been introduced before they can even begin to deliberate on an outcome. So if our fellow citizens should be impartial and free of bias, and if our fellow citizens must wait until the last piece of evidence is introduced, the last witness is called, before they can reach a verdict, a conclusion, an outcome, then I don't think it's asking too much that the Department of Justice and the FBI do the same thing. There is no member of Congress who holds the department and the Bureau in higher esteem than I do. There are others who hold you in high esteem, but I would take second place to no one. And I have defended the department and the Bureau when, frankly, it was pretty damn lonely to do so. When my Democrat friends were asking that Jim Comey be prosecuted for a Hatch Act violation about this time last year, they now want him canonized. But this time last year, they wanted him prosecuted for a Hatch Act violation. When your predecessor sat right where you're sitting and was embroiled in a fight with this little tiny startup company called Apple, I was on the side of the Bureau. When there are calls for special counsel, even today, I reject them because I trust the women and men of the Department of Justice and the Bureau, the professionals that we hired to do their job. And the vast majority of line prosecutors and line agents are exactly what you described in your opening statement. They are exactly what you described. But unfortunately, the last 2 years have not been good years for the Bureau, and they have not been good years for the department. We had an attorney general meet with the spouse of a target of an investigation on the tarmac, and asked that an investigation be called something other than an investigation, but be called a matter. We've had an attorney general recuse himself from the largest, most significant investigation currently in his office. We had the director of the FBI appropriate a major charging decision away from the Department of Justice because he was concerned that the public wouldn't have confidence if the Department of Justice handled that decision themselves. We had an FBI director write 2 politically volatile letters weeks before an election. We had an FBI director memorialize conversations he had with the President of the United States because he didn't trust the President's recall of those conversations. And I think what frustrates some folks is when Director Comey wanted special counsel for President Trump, he leaked one of those memos. When he didn't have confidence in Loretta Lynch, we didn't hear a word about it. There were no leaks that prompted special counsel when he didn't trust Loretta Lynch. There were leaks when he decided he didn't trust President Trump. We've had an acting AG fired. We've had the director of the FBI fired. And we can't manage to find prosecutors who haven't donated to presidential candidates. Out of all the universe of prosecutors that you used to work with, and I used to work with, and Johnny Ratcliffe used to work with, we can't find a dozen that haven't donated to major political candidates. And now we have Special Agent Strzok. It was the Inspector General, not the Department of Justice, not the Bureau who found these texts. It was the Inspector General. And I share your confidence in his objectivity. I share it. But it shouldn't have been the Inspector General that had to bring this to our attention 12 months after it happened. And that same agent is the one who reportedly interviewed Secretary Clinton in an interview that you and I have never seen conducted that way before. To have potential witnesses and potential targets sit in on a witness interview, I appreciate your professionalism and your unwillingness to want to say how unprecedented that is, so I'm not going to ask you. I'll just tell you, it's unprecedented. And that same agent is alleged to have been the one that changed the language. You're right, they are synonyms. Extremely careless is a synonym for grossly negligent, which begs the question, why change it? But you and I know why it was changed. It was changed because the statute says grossly negligent. And if you're not going to charge someone, God knows you don't want to track the statute with the language that you use. That would be stupid. Also stupid is to do that memo 2 months before you've interviewed the target. That memo was drafted before the last witness was interviewed. Director, it was drafted before the target of the investigation was even interviewed. Which makes people wonder, was the decision made before the interviews were finished? And now we believe that that same agent is also involved in the investigation into President Trump and his campaign, and may have interviewed Michael Flynn. That hasn't been confirmed, and we don't know what role, if any, he took in the preparation of documents for court filing. So I'm going to say this because I'm out of time, and I appreciate the chairman's patience with me. You have a really important job. When all else fails in this country, we want to be able to look to the FBI. We want to be able to look to the Department of Justice. When all the other institutions we trust, including Congress, appear to be broken, we want to be able to look to you. It's been a really bad 2 years. I am counting on you to help answer our questions in Congress, our fellow citizens' questions, but I am more than anything counting on you to go back to work for that blindfolded woman holding a set of scales that really doesn't give a whit about politics. That's the FBI that I want.
Back on. All right, guys, so some powerful stuff there from Trey Gowdy. That wasn't the exact video I wanted to show. Apologies on that. He is also shown yesterday grilling Rosenstein about various things, and he got even more passionate. So, I don't know. I've already regurgitated that earlier, guys. I don't want to go back through it. But the Dems here, you know, it's funny. He did hit on some points. When it's politically expedient, the Dems love to... They've got 2 dictionaries. The right only has 1. Here's the 2 dictionaries the Dems have. They love to change language. Go back with me to Benghazi, when Ambassador Stevens was murdered along with a couple other, like Navy SEALs and some other volunteers, right? Because Clinton didn't protect the agency, or excuse me, the embassy. What did Obama march out in front of the press for countless weeks? Well, that wasn't a terrorist act. It was a demonstration. Clinton email scandal. Comey was told by Loretta Lynch and others, that's not an investigation. That's a matter. Anytime that there's politically criminal situations that arise and the Democrats know that they're on one side of the fence that's going to be the wrong side, they pull out that other dictionary and they pivot, right? And that brings me to my next topic. What are the Dems? The Dems are champions of something else there. It's the pivot. I actually have that underlined on my piece of paper here. And I got to think about this morning, right? Let's just go down the pivots that they've had with the Trump administration as they've allowed him to come into office, basically with them kicking and screaming and trying to, undermine him, besmirch him, criminalize him, everything else, right? So his presidency got underway under what banner as far as the Democrats are concerned? What banner was they under? Russian collusion. Okay? We're almost a year into his term. A year. We're almost a full year into his first term, and it will be 2 terms. We're almost 1 year into his first term. It was Russian collusion. But for a full year now, we haven't seen a shred of evidence. Not one single iota of evidence that says that there was any Russian-Trump collusion to undermine the election. Now you have the Democrats say otherwise. And once again, we'll kick over to that iceberg. We're on the tip of it, but that's ridiculous. But now, after almost a year plus of an investigation and a special counsel that's produced zilch of evidence suggesting that there is any, now they've pivoted, right? Keyword, they've pivoted. Well, now it's obstruction. Well, how did he obstruct? Okay, well, he obstructed when he fired Comey, supposedly. Absolute joke. President has the absolute constitutional right to fire Comey, and he did. And then we can go even further. All the sex scandals that have been going on, guys. Started out with Harvey Weinstein, Hollywood. I thought about this morning, sipping my coffee and watching Fox News. I've got a prediction, and I'm willing to stand behind it. I think, not to dilute the importance of the revelations that have come out, I'm not going to take a stand either way. If those allegations against all these individuals, both politically, Hollywood, sports, wherever these things may fall, if they are true, then there should be accountability and ramifications for that. So I want to set that straight. But I'm going to go out on as far as the pivot thing goes with Democrats, I'm going to say what they've done. Started out Russian collusion. No evidence. Can't stay on that island very long. It's fallen into the Pacific. Obstruction. Can't stay on that island very long. We got to go somewhere. What's been front and center in the media in the last 3 or 4 or 5 weeks? 6 weeks. What's been front and center? Outside of these new revelations into the corruption. What else has been front and center, neck and neck with that on a daily basis? The sexual assault allegations across this country have enveloped this country. Right? Now, what did Trump do when he came into office? What was he known for? 2 or 3 weeks, a month and a half out. I don't even remember when it happened. Of course, he's had some other situations. I'm not defending President Trump in this. He has been known to have said some things and done some things in his past that I absolutely do not agree with, and I will stand up and say that. He's talked to women in disparaging ways, belittling ways, sexual comments, lot of misguidedness in that arena underneath that man. Okay, so I'm not going to defend that. I'm going to tell you what they're going to do. They come out and they got Weinstein caved. They threw Al Franken under the bus. The Connors is under the bus. Conyers. There's countless others that are being, Roy Moore lost that election the other day, in part to the allegations that were made against him, of which none have been proven. Doug Jones beat him in that special election to replace Jeff Sessions. The Dems are great at pivoting. They will exhaust and use every bit of fuel out of a subject. 9 times out of 10 it's false. 9 times out of 10 it's conjured and it's a lie. And in this case, this is the stair-step process that's happened. You've got, he colluded. The Russians had to have taken this away from Hillary, but all we found out is that basically Hillary has signed her own demise. He obstructed. Obstructed what? Fired Comey in the middle of an investigation into something that never should have been underway to begin with? I've always said this from the beginning. How can you have a president charged with obstructing an investigation of which is predicated on fake, false, trumped-up information, salacious information, paid for by the Democratic National Committee, paid for by the Clintons, paid for, probably come to find out, will be by the FBI in part to Christopher Steele. Okay? Dressed up by various entities of the FBI, presented to a FISA court for a warrant to spy on fellow Americans. But how can you have anything further from that? So in other words, if the genesis or the origin of the foundation of an investigation was built on lies and misconceptions and dirty money and corruption, then everything that follows after that carries no weight. No weight. There's no weight behind it. There's absolutely no validity behind it. In my opinion, Paul Manafort, Papadopoulos, General Flynn, all of these situations where they've been charged with stuff that they've, they're fine. I mean, there's money laundering is what, Manafort's been charged with, lying to the FBI, which was basically entrapment, if you ask me, because Flynn met with the FBI investigators at a random office or something and wasn't aware that he was being recorded. wasn't aware that he was under oath. They already had transcripts of contacts with, I believe, Kislyak, which was a Russian ambassador. See, they don't have to have FISA warrants to do that on foreign subjects. They've got every right to investigate and snoop on that. But what they did do is by a default process, Flynn got caught up in that dragnet. And it wasn't of coincidence. It was on purpose. And so that they could have plausible deniability and just like, oh, yeah, but look at what we heard here. There was nothing wrong with Flynn talking to Kislyak. It's a transition team. We talked about this weeks ago. That's what's supposed to happen when you have one administration transition to another. So Flynn reaches out, starts trying to make connections and ties and start cultivating and fostering a relationship with various entities of Russia. Nothing wrong with that. For some reason, he got caught in a deer in the headlight, and we'll never know. Only he knows. He lied about it. He said he didn't when he did. But if he would have said he did, it wouldn't have mattered because it's legal. So the FBI meets with him. They already have these recorded phone calls because they snooped on Kislyak and grabbed him in the dragnet. And then asked him about it. Had him under oath and had it videoed, have copies and transcriptions, and they've used it against him for a plea. Where was that coordinated effort against Hillary Clinton, or at least a fair shake against her? She wasn't under oath. All of her team was given immunity. She was given the ability during her email scandal investigation to destroy federal property that was subpoenaed to be a part of an investigation. It disappeared. It got destroyed. Bleach pit. Hammers. They took hammers to iPhones and to Blackberries. It's all part of public knowledge. Why ain't that obstruction? Why ain't that obstruction? Why is there the double standard in this country? It's just unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Welcome, Aaron. See you there, my friend. Yeah, I'm glad you could join us here. So yeah, guys, I mean, I don't, like I said, I'm going to go out on a prediction. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I don't think it's too big of a limb to really connect the dots. The Dems will look for anything to connect, and to find somewhere else to find refuge. When they're proven wrong, most Democrats will squirt from one subject to another. They really don't. If they've found no validity, if they jump to one thing, if they can lie about it, manipulate it, and extract every bit of corruption out of it they can, they'll sit on something long enough to do that until the very last second, until truth shines the brightest light it can on top of that, and they all go scurrying onto something else, right? So that's what they've done. I mean, it's real simple. They went from colluding, absolutely a joke of a charge, nothing there to back it, to obstruction. Once again, we've been there. How can you obstruct something you had every right to do under an investigation that shouldn't be ongoing because it wasn't predicated on fact and truth? And now because of Trump's questionable past, right, I can tell you right now, going into 2018 and then the next election in 2020, the Dems are going to beat the sexual allegation drum. They're going to beat that hard. There is actually supposedly a number of women that have been compiled and put together to try to testify, that Trump sexually assaulted or unwillingly groped or did something against their will. There's been some even talk that, and once again, if any of those things are true, if proven true, you're not going to find a stronger advocate, for punishing those type of individuals, including the president. But with that said, there's a lot of corruption in that. There's been talk lately in the last 2 or 3 days that there's been proof that certain women across the country have actually been approached and offered tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we'll keep you posted on that, to basically come out and falsely accuse President Trump. Right? I mean, we had to deal with Moore down there in Roy Moore down in Alabama. Same situation. Moore had countless cascades of accusations come forward, accusers. One in particular stated that to back her allegations had a yearbook, of which she showed as evidence inside that said that Roy Moore had written a bunch of, sexually slanted and questionable stuff to this then young lady that then would collaborate and actually go in and parallel some of the accusations that she made against Roy Moore. That's funny, though, because I think in about the last week to 10 days, that lady's recanted her story. It's been proven false. And the reason it was is because Roy Moore and his attorneys came up and said, hey, you got something that you think I wrote. That's physical evidence. I have every right to see if I can let's get a handwriting expert. Let's see if that's actually true, if that's actually my handwriting. It never was given up for evidence to be shown. And from what I've researched and studied, that lady's story has been recanted, and she's basically stated that, yes, Roy Moore did notate in her yearbook at that time, I think it was back in the 70s, but it was something simple and innocent, and that she added a bunch of other salacious, false stuff and then presented that as evidence to back her allegations. Guys, as long as we got this kind of manipulation and corruption of truth, it's just going to get worse. Just going to get worse. So I don't know what to say on that, but that's where the Dems are going. I think the more pressure that's been brought up against this Mueller investigation and all this stuff where the fix was in and to the highest levels of the FBI, along with the Obama DOJ, I think the writing's on the wall that all of this mud they've thrown up against the wall for the better part of a year or more, that goes back for years or more, as that great big, that water hose comes out and sprays all that, and 99.99% of that all just washes off the wall, Dems are going to pivot. They ain't got nothing else to go to. And the hottest topic out there right now is the sexual scandals. And I guarantee you, they'll beg, borrow, and steal to get somebody in front of a camera with some kind of tangible evidence to try to discredit this president. That's exactly what they're going to do. But meanwhile, what's Trump doing? Let's talk some positive stuff. They're on the precipice of passing the biggest tax cut in this nation's history. The biggest tax cut clearly since Reagan. Reaganomics, ladies and gentlemen, Reaganomics. I don't have all the specifics of the tax cut, but I do know it's massive. It's going to be a huge tax break for the middle class. It's actually going to be a huge tax break for the corporate side of things as well. And a lot of people think, oh, that's only for the rich. I'm sorry, guys, but I don't know of anybody that got hired by somebody that was poor. You can't. Corporations, entities, businesses, they got to make money to spend money. You got to make money to hire people. You got to make money. And to do that, you have to have a tax plan that's favorable for growth. Well, that's exactly what Trump's doing, right? I don't know if you've been under a rock for the last number of months, guys, and I expect that my audience hadn't, but I'm sure you saw the Dow Jones. Record days every day. Almost every day is a record. More jobs, more industrial jobs every day. Unemployment dropping by the day. 17-year lows in unemployment. Shattering records. Repatronizing billions of dollars. If that tax plan comes to fruition, and it will, guarantee it's going to, that stock market ain't done nothing yet. The stock market ain't done nothing compared to where it's going to go. They always say that the market's got things factored in. Well, not necessarily. Is that today? That looks like today. I'm looking at a screenshot that says Dow's currently sitting at 24,658 and some change, up 150 points, ladies and gentlemen. Another record. Trump said, you want to win, you're going to get sick of winning. I don't think so. And it's not all about the money, guys. It's just an overall, isn't it absolutely amazing during the Obama administration that this country did as good as it did during those 8 years with the foot of regulation and restraint over the throat of the greatest economic engine the world's ever seen in capitalism. And as soon as that man exited the office and Trump took office, it was almost as if you had flipped a switch. People knew he's a businessman. He knows how to turn a buck. He knows and understands how to save money. He knows and understands how to negotiate for the best deals. He projects strength. He doesn't take anything from anybody, and he goes overseas and he tells other leaders of countries that have abused their rights against us exactly what it is. People respect him. The markets clearly respect him, and that's exactly where we're going. I mean, you know, it's just amazing. I mean, it's just going straight up. But, you know, let's talk about something else. It isn't just about economics. You know, 8 years of the apology tour, that's over. You won't see President Trump bound to another leader. You won't see President Trump apologizing for this great country. But I'll tell you what you do see President Trump standing up for. You darn sure see him standing up for Christianity, Judeo-Christian values. You see him calling terrorism what terrorism is. Terrorism. I see President Trump invoke God on a daily basis almost. It's absolutely astonishing and amazing. It makes me feel good. I know the country feels better. You know, he's allowing, God to be back in our discussions as far as political stances go. I mean, when the commander-in-chief will talk about Judeo-Christian values and God and faith on almost a daily and weekly basis, and say, we're going to say Christmas again, and we're going to talk about our faith. You know, under the Obama administration, you just made to feel guilty about that. You just made to feel guilty about your faith. I mean, when pushed on facts about how Muslim extremists and terrorism have went around and they're clearly persecuting Christians around the world, Obama's famously noted with basically saying, well, now hold on now. You can't just go to, beating up on Muslims. There was a lot of atrocities supposedly done under the Crusades in Christianity. That's what Obama said. It's absolutely horrible. He would always, at every chance, he would always take a chance to take a poke at or stab at Christianity. I never saw him pass it a chance to uphold the Muslim faith. It was absolutely amazing. But anyways, out with the old, in with the new. Trump's in. Great things. Make America great again. Great thoughts, great things. Invoke God in our everyday. Strength, lead by strength, lead from the front. If you make some kind of red line, you defend it, and you actually show consequences for somebody that crosses it. Right? Syria, Assad used gas. Okay, go right ahead. 58 cruise missiles hit 58 targets, precisely where they intended to be. I don't think there's been any more gas since. Kim Jong-un sitting over there shooting off missiles. Guarantee you, he'll shoot one too many. And Trump and this great military will do something about it. So, guys, we're at the end of this show, looks like. I'm looking at about 11:58. I could do this all day. I love it. I do appreciate you guys. I guess that's about it for today. I don't have anything else really to go. I could ramble. I'm good at rambling, but I don't have any other meat and potatoes or anything actually scheduled to link up here. So rest assured this week upcoming is going to be another bombshell week as far as politics, as far as truth goes, guys. I will do my due diligence, compile a lot of this, try to get it in front of you. I do appreciate each and every one of you being here today on my first solo alone here. So once again, Dave will be missed. He's my brother in Christ, and he's my brother from another mother. So, love him to death, and we will miss him dearly, but this show will continue. And, guys, if you have any questions, please email me there, truthhourradio@gmail.com. Please like us, share us, subscribe, whatever the case may be. Tell your friends and family about it. You can actually go to YouTube at any time and watch these recorded. We love to have you live, though, so we can get your feedback. Have any topics you want to actually talk to me about or just have me discuss or bring up on the following week's show, please email me that. I'd be glad to take care of that for you. If I don't hear from you, I'm going to keep on going with business as usual, trying to rock out with as much current political information as I can, try to compile as much relevance as I can. So with that, guys, have a blessed week. Stay safe, and we will see you down the road. God bless.
Something really wrong is going on.